Today, we're going to talk about Evan Spiegel and this incredible concept he developed that really just turned social media on its head, the Snapchat rule.
Everything, and I mean everything, starts with this one big idea. See, at a time when literally every single tech company was in this mad dash to hoard as much of your personal life as possible, Spiegel saw a totally different game. It wasn't about who had the most data or the fanciest algorithms. No, he knew that the real secret, the thing that a giant like Facebook was completely missing, wasn't in the data at all. It was in the feeling.
And that insight leads to this huge question, right? How do you take an idea that sounds, well, like a terrible business plan, letting your product vanish moments after it's used, and turn that into your biggest weapon? How do you actually convince millions of people that a blurry, fleeting moment is way more valuable than some perfectly polished memory? That's the puzzle we're going to solve today.
All right, so here's how we're going to break this all down. We'll start with that core idea, the deletion decision, and see how Spiegel was forged in the garage. Then we'll get into his philosophy of fluidity, see how he turned that into a sovereignty system, and watch it become a new camera company. And finally, we'll talk about how you can find your own behavioral code.
So let's jump right in with that foundational insight. You have to understand, this wasn't just some clever feature. It was the beginning of a whole new way of thinking about how we should live online.
What I love about this is how clearly it lays out the battle lines. On one side, you've got the Facebook model, the permanent archive. The whole system is designed for you to build a personal brand, this perfect online resume of your life. Every single photo, every post is there forever, and it runs on data mining to keep you glued to that archive. But on the other side, you've got Spiegel's radical idea, the unvarnished moment. The goal here isn't to look perfect, it's to look real. And it's all built on this idea of ephemeral logic, that real life disappears. Its power doesn't come from data, but from a deep behavioral insight into how stressful that permanent archive actually is. He basically threw out the resume for raw, unfiltered authenticity.
And this right here is the heart of it all, the Snapchat rule. It's the core idea of what we're talking about today. It's this belief that truly understanding human psychology, why we feel awkward, why we crave those goofy, spontaneous connections, is a more powerful, more lethal weapon than any amount of data you could ever collect. It's a total shift from engineering for clicks and likes to engineering for genuine human emotion.
But an idea this big doesn't just pop up out of nowhere, right? It was actually forged in a time of serious pressure and rejection, which brings us to Spiegel's backstory.
So Spiegel's early life really set the stage for this kind of thinking. He grew up in Pacific Palisades, a super affluent area, but he always felt like an outsider. He was surrounded by this culture obsessed with building the perfect resume, the perfect grades, the perfect life path, and that just didn't sit right with him. So at Stanford, that feeling turned into an idea for an app that did the exact opposite. But to build it, he had to go into hiding, basically. He dropped out of college, moved back into his dad's garage, and just worked in total isolation. And those early days were brutal. Nobody wanted to fund him, and everyone was calling his idea a silly toy app.
And that rejection wasn't just from investors. It was personal. Can you imagine? You're in a product design class at Stanford, the heart of Silicon Valley. You pitch your big idea, and your classmates laugh at you. An app that loses photos? It went against everything the industry believed in. It was a bet against the entire culture he was supposed to be a part of.
And this is the moment that just defines his absolute conviction. While he's still being called a toy, Mark Zuckerberg shows up with an offer of $3 billion in cash, just to make this threat go away. And Spiegel says no. To everyone else, it looked insane, but for him, it was about sovereignty. It was proof that he believed in his idea so deeply that no amount of money could get him to sell out to the very system he was trying to tear down.
So you see, the garage, the laughter, the rejection, it wasn't a setback, it was his forge. He used that time to basically unlearn the need for anyone else's approval. He wasn't just building an app. He was building this internal fortress, this unshakable belief that his gut feeling about human behavior was the only truth that mattered.
And out of that forge came this whole new philosophy, a way of thinking built not on tracking people, but on earning their trust.
The first part of this is what he called the fluid self. This is a direct shot at the idea of a single perfect online profile. It's this realization that, hey, you're not just one person. The you that's at work on a Tuesday is totally different from the you that's out with friends on a Saturday night. So instead of forcing you into one perfect box, Snapchat was designed to let you be who you are in that moment. Messy, silly, imperfect, human.
And the second part is behavioral sovereignty. This is how he put that trust into practice. It was all about mastering the feel of an experience. Instead of asking, how do we track this user to keep them hooked, his team asked, how do we design something so fun and free that the user just trusts us completely? They treated the camera like a laboratory for discovering the truth of a moment. The bet was, if you get the feeling right, people will come back because they want to, not because some algorithm is tricking them.
And this entire complex philosophy really boils down to one simple, incredibly powerful rule: delete by default. Everything is temporary. Nothing lasts unless you actively choose to save it. This one rule became the absolute foundation for every single decision they made. It was the ultimate way to show that they trusted the user and believed in the power of the now.
Look, a philosophy is great, but it's useless if you don't actually put it into practice. Spiegel was obsessed with turning his ideas into a real system, into things his team did every single day.
This was his 4-step design process, and it's totally different from what everyone else was doing. Step 1. Define the behavior. Forget demographics. What do we want the user to do, and more importantly, feel? Step 2. Force a physical reaction. Make the design so intuitive, that tap, that swipe, that it feels like an instinct. Step 3. Ensure freedom is the only feeling. The user has to feel free from judgment, free from permanence. And Step 4. Threaten boring profiles. Every new feature had to be a direct attack on the static, boring profiles everyone else had.
And he baked this system into the company's daily life. They had a deletion audit, a constant check to make sure every new idea was true to that core mission. They had a camera-first protocol, which meant they stubbornly refused to become another text-based feed. And this last one is my favorite: foundational ephemerality. While other apps were optimizing for pretty pictures, his team was obsessed with finding the ugly face, that hilarious, unflattering, but totally authentic selfie. The feeling of sending that goofy picture, knowing it would vanish, that became their real measure of success, not likes or shares.
So what happens when you stick to a system like this? Well, you don't just build another app. You end up reinventing what a company can be and totally reshaping an entire industry.
And this just shows the massive shift. The old model gave us the social media mogul, where success was all about how big your archive was and how much data you had. The Snapchat rule created something new, the architect of conscience, who gets that real success is found in the moment and is driven by understanding behavior. This guy went from being the outsider laughed at in a dorm room to the person who completely redefined digital communication for a generation. He didn't build another social media company, he built a camera company.
Okay, so that's the story of Evan Spiegel. But the real power here is figuring out how to take his way of thinking and apply it to what you do. So, a fun fact, the original internal code name for Snapchat was 𝐻𝐿𝐴𝐶𝐻𝐿𝐴. It was weird, it was personal, it wasn't focus group to death. And that brings me to a question for you. What's your 𝐻𝐿𝐴𝐶𝐻𝐿𝐴? What's that one idea or project you've been overthinking, drowning in spreadsheets, and trying to make perfect just to play it safe? Where are you chasing the numbers instead of zeroing in on the real human behavior you're trying to change?
Here it is. This is the big takeaway from Spiegel's entire journey. It's a powerful command for anyone trying to create something new. Stop chasing the numbers, the clicks, the stats, the quarterly reports. Start building empathy instead. Get so obsessed with the feeling and the authentic human need that the numbers just become a natural result of the amazing thing you've built, not the goal itself. Because really, that's what the Snapchat rule is all about. The truth you're looking for, in your work, in your art, whatever it is, it's not hiding in a spreadsheet. It's alive, right now, in this fleeting moment. And your ability to see that, to design for it, and to trust in it, that is the code for your greatness.